In this video, I'm going to be demonstrating how to calculate factorials using recursion. Now, recursion is a type of coding style or something you see in mathematics where basically you have a function that calls itself. And it's one of the powerful things that you can do inside of Java. Not every language has the ability to do this, but Java does, and it's really, really cool. Okay, so let's create a new project. Let's call this thing Factorials Recursion. And recursion basically it can make some problems, especially some really hard mathematical problems, very, very easy to solve from a coding point of view. Recursion has some downsides though. It uses a lot of memory, so you don't want to calculate humongous things sometimes with recursion, but for some things it's really, really handy to have. So let's go and get started here. So let's try, if we did 5 factorial, the answer to this thing is going to be 120. We know that's the answer, so let's get started here. Let's write int num equals 5. That's what I'm going to start with. This is num. And my factorial, I'm actually going to do it in a separate method, so outside the main. And the method is going to say public static int fact. That's going to be the name of my method, fact. I'm going to put int n. And inside of here, I'm basically going to say this. If, bracket, bracket, if the n equals 0, or, so the or is the double lines. It's like I hold shift and hit the slash button, this one right here. I hit that above, it's above my enter key. That's where I get that. So double lines, that means or n equals 1. So if I'm sent 0 or 1, I want to return, oh my goodness, can't type today. Return 1. So like the factorial of 0 is 1, factorial of 1 is 1, okay? If it's anything else, I'm going to return n times the factorial of n minus 1. So what's going to happen is going to make a change. So if it comes in with a 5, right? Is 5 a 0 or 1? No. So it's going to return 5 times the factorial of 5 minus 1, which is 4. Then when we get to the 4, it's going to say, is it a 0 or 1? No. So we're going to return 4 times the factorial of 3. So it keeps making this big chain, basically. And this is how you can solve it recursively. So let's try it out here. So system.out.println factorial bracket. I'm going to add in my num here. Close the brackets, equals. I'm going to go plus fact of num. So I'm going to call the factorial method with my num, and that should work. So again, it's going to make a big, big chain. It's going to take the current number and multiply by the factorial of the next one. So it's kind of like, if you had to visualize it, it's kind of like I'm doing this. It's going to equal 5 times the factorial of 4, right? But then the factorial of 4 is going to result in 4 times the factorial of 3, and so on. And eventually this is going to be replaced with a 1. So that's the idea here of what's actually happening in this method. Okay, so it's a bit complex, kind of hard to wrap your head around sometimes, but it does work. So let's prove it. Factorial of 5 is 120, so it did actually work correctly. And again, this is a recursive method for calculating factorials in Java.